Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 21st of June, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Engel, aka Motown Noah. June 21st, that is the first day of summer here in America. Usually that's how does that work with the calendar? Don't mind the dog. He barks sometimes. He's not gonna hurt you guys. He's a small dog. He's not gonna hurt anybody. He's just gonna woof a little bit. He's already starting to stop. Okay, all right, on to the next thing. So it's weird because with the handle that one like a Nick, you're a fucking rock star. See how I handled that one? Maybe I should restart. No. Keep rolling with the punches. You gotta adapt to the environment, Nick. That's what this is what off-season programming is really all about. Actually, that's something we talked about in the last episode, and then I actually cut most of what I ended up talking about because I was like, this is bullshit. This has nothing to do with anything. You don't need to talk about this on the show. But what I was trying to say was there is something to be said about the art of off-season content for any of the major sports leagues around the world, because it's one thing to sit here for 6 months and like the content writes itself. It's the games. You just watch the games, or depending on who it is, but you watch some box scores, you read some headlines, and then the content piggies will just eat out of your hands. Right, but once you get into those dog days of September, like what fastballs are you throwing? You know what I mean? So I love off-season content. It's really when your brain has to start, and also because as it pertains to the NBA, it really is a calendar year sport. It really is, relevant and in the news for. I mean, if it's not really 12 months, but if we're being honest, it is like 11. It's like 10 and a half months. At worst for a down year in the NBA that we're like actively talking about the NBA, like 10 and a half months, right? Because there's always something going on. And then this year it's going to be it's not going to be any worse because the Olympics are happening. And do you know how much it's not just that the Olympics are happening if you're a fan of the United States. It's that the Avengers have been reassembled, and like we're actually trying again this year, and we're like LeBron, Kevin Durant, Steph, so all the guys who are old, but for all intents and purposes, like motherfuckers who can still hoop, and like, you think they can do it on the global stage, but for all intents and purposes, like we have a reason to get excited about national basketball again, because or international play is what I should say, because I don't know, for how many years has it been that they gave up, so we kind of gave up too. It's like NBA players. Basically, they started treating international play as if it was the fucking All-Star game. It kind of feels like the same thing. So we'll have that to bank on. We got the draft coming up here in like apparently a week. Did you guys? I had no idea. I had no idea that the draft was as soon as it was. And I say as soon as it was. It's almost July. It's almost July. So we're getting there. And hey everyone, with this under this new CBA, free agency, it actually technically starts right away. As soon as the finals conclude, you're going to start seeing some deals left and right. You're going to start hearing about some ongoing negotiations. This is what they sold to us. This is what they pitched to us. I have yet to see it in practice. I have seen it conceptually, but I haven't really seen it in practice. We haven't really gotten that much fun stuff going on. Okay. We did get the Josh Giddey thing. We did get the Josh Giddey, Alex Caruso trade. I don't know if the Josh Giddey thing is really what the headline of the trade. I think it's maybe more. There are a few headlines here. First of all, the Alex Caruso trade is maybe what we should lead with. It was Alex Caruso got traded. And then the sub headline to that is Chicago Bulls make first trade involving a player since August of 2021. Did you guys know that? At this point, that we're about 24 hours removed from the trade by the time you're listening to this at the earliest, right? So I'm sure that you've seen the fucking stat views. Somebody's put it out there and you've seen it, that for the first time since August of 2021, the Chicago Bulls just made a trade involving a player. You're probably like, who was the last August of 2021? Who would that have even been? Fucking Paul Zipser? It was Lauri Markkanen. It was fucking Lauri Markkanen. The last time, I'll say it one last time, the Chicago Bulls made a trade involving a player, it was to send away Lauri Markkanen. Huh? What? And now you fast forward and you're like, okay, so if you're Chicago, you finally did the thing where you're like, we gotta just wave the white flag and we gotta break this core up and we just gotta get some shit on the margins, maybe cash in on some of these players. Okay, and then, build this thing from the ground up. Okay, so if you do some quick roster assessment, asset management, Alex Caruso is one of those guys that if we don't want to keep him, which he's going to be one of the more valuable guys, so because he's going to be one of the more valuable guys on the open market, maybe we get something extra cool for him. Maybe this is we package him maybe, or we could just do it on its own and see what we could get. And you're like, okay, so you look around the league, it may be like a contending team, like a fringe contender, someone who, overachieved this last year. And like, what's an additional piece that they could use to kind of take them to that next level? All this intangible shit that Alex Caruso brings to the table. Like, he's an all defensive talent. Like, who wants that? And then you're AK and you're like, oh, fuck, Sam Presti maybe would be interested in it. Let me call Oklahoma City. Let me give you, and then you're also like, well, this goes a layer deeper. You're like, well, Oklahoma City, not only they have all the aforementioned, they check all the aforementioned boxes, but they also have like an asset pile that is like, it's like Looney Tunes shit, right? So it's like, it's real Scrooge McDuck levels of first round picks going on down in Oklahoma City in Sam Presti's office. You're like, okay, so I'm going to give them a call. And I say, so we set it up the stage perfectly, right? That's basically how it went. And then by the time that AK got off the phone, he had agreed to send Alex Caruso to Oklahoma City. And the team that has more capital than anybody else in the league and more like interesting shit to sell off. Like, would Lou Dort have been more interesting here? Maybe. You got Josh Giddey. You got Josh Giddey, who, for all intents and purposes, off the court shit aside, has been perceived as one of the more negative basketball assets in the league, right? Like lately. Because if you think about like negative assets, like contractually, like ironically, that would be that's the call is coming from inside of the house. If you're the Bulls, that's Zach LaVine, right? But if you're talking about as a player, at least Zach LaVine like can play when he physically can play. Like, yes, he can play. Josh Giddey has just sort of been trending down. I mean, there was that trend. I say trend like if it was a TikTok thing. The irony there being a little palpable because Josh Giddey is sort of his whole deal for a while. I'm sure he still does TikTok. I'm sure what he went through in the last year hasn't really deterred him from being online. Although I'm sure maybe in some way that it has. Someone will check. One of the beautiful Zoomer listeners of the Coping Hour listenership will chime in. Yes, Josh Giddey does still do TikTok, is what they'll say. But I got to tell you, okay, so I say everything that I just said. It's a horrible trade for the Bulls. The whole thing is stupid, and you're like, okay. But what is fun is that we just had a 1-for-1 player trade. Don't you love when that happens? I think it's for me. It's always more fun when it's in like the NFL for some reason, and it's just like we had one. Who the fuck? Oh, it was right around the draft. It was Desmond Ridder for Rondale Moore. That's a hilarious trade. I love that. There's no like, ooh, 7th round compensatory, like this pick 262, like, okay, like I don't even know what what are we talking about? Let's do 189 for 117 and 49 in 4 years. You're like, what? You're like, huh? Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso. What a horrible trade for the fucking Bulls. For the Bulls. And I don't know if there's been any language on like what the plan is with him, and like if they're like, no, we're gonna do the Josh Giddey thing. If there hasn't been any communication on that, I'm gonna say probably the fuck not, right? At some point, you're just gonna do something else with him, because if you're the Bulls, you're like, well, we have Ayo Dosunmu already, and like I don't know between him and Kobe White if they do something with either of them. Something I would assume no. But if you are doing the Josh Giddey thing, then I was maybe you are. So that's been fun with the offseason so far, all that. But what else is going on? I don't know. I mean, the Celtics championship parade, I believe actually the day that this is going to be releasing, I believe is when it's happening. So unfortunately, we will not be able to cover that if there's anything noteworthy that happens. But rest assured, we will be covering it on Monday's episode of the Coping Hour. Shouldn't be any scheduling issues. I know we had one this last Monday. We're taping this on Thursday night because Friday morning we are having a dishwasher delivered. It's been like a whole thing for like weeks trying to get this damn thing delivered because we have to schedule with our building. So basically Best Buy is like, you go to Best Buy, you're like, hey, we want a dishwasher. And they're like, that sounds awesome. We have a shit ton of dishwashers. We're like, cool. And we're like, hook that shit up. And they're like, cool. And so they're like, so we set up a delivery date. But the problem is in our building with our HOA, we have to like rent the elevator. We have to rent one of the elevators for like a very specific time. But the delivery service they don't know when they're going to get there that day, other than like they just kind of call you the day of. They're like, hey, we'll be here between this time and this time. And you're like, okay. So we've had a hard time scheduling it. And you get what I'm saying? You get what the conundrum here is? We've had a hard time coordinating, scheduling a slot for the elevator, because you can't just immediately do it, right? It's a big building, people, and so it's been a whole fucking thing. And so I'm saying, why did I bring this? I don't remember. Because I'm explaining why I won't be able to, why I wasn't able to tape this on Friday morning, but we should be good for Monday. I don't know if I ever brought this up on the show. When Jacob, aka Rusty Buckets, and producer extraordinaire Rudy St. Clair, unintentional rhyme, I do that from time to time, Dr. Seuss in this news, when they were here a couple months ago, I don't remember which one of them said it to me, but they said something to me that was very profound and it fucked me up. They said, you are really, really good at explaining yourself. Like, it's almost like an immediate defense mechanism. Like, it's like almost like a trauma related thing. He's like, but they were like, I don't remember which one of them said it. And I haven't fucking stopped thinking about it since they said it. And I think everything that I had no reason to explain to you guys what my schedule, I had no reason to explain that, but I felt like I needed to. And I do feel like it disrupted my rhythm in actually talking about shit that is going on in the league right now. So let's steer this thing. We can take our seatbelts off, ladies and gentlemen. You can get up, move about the cabin, go use the restroom if you need to. Let's get this. We've reached a steady cruising altitude here at the Coping Hour. I can tell I'm kind of on a heater right now. So what else is going on? Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? The coaching carousel. Okay, it's finally back up again. It's active. We knew it. We clocked it on this show that all we needed to wait for was for the finals to conclude, and we would get something on the JJ Redick front. We knew that was going to happen, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We're not quite there yet. So the first thing, we did cover it on this channel earlier in the week, hours after it happened, in an individual video. We have not talked about on this show, however, the fact that Monty Williams doesn't have a job anymore. Whoa, Monty Williams actually got fired. Now, I guess I want to talk about this first. What the fuck is going on with ESPN and like posturing for Monty Williams? What is this? What do they got pundits talking about like Monty Williams is not to blame? It's the mess that's in Detroit. And then also Monty Williams was blindsided by He's blindsided by the fact that he got fired. Monty Williams, that worst season that the Pistons have ever played in the history of their franchise, even if you include Fort Wayne, by the way, worst season they've ever played in his first season after becoming the highest paid coach in the history of basketball ever. Worst season they've ever played. There have been coaches that have won 55 plus games, won Coach of the Year, and were fired that same season. You want to know how I'm able to remember that so easily off the top of my head? Is because that motherfucker ended up coaching Detroit a couple weeks later. Dwayne Casey, ever fucking heard of him? Oh yeah, he was the coach that we literally let go, mutually agreed to part ways with, and then Dwayne Casey assumed a role in the front office, and then used his influence to hire Monty Williams. So that's what's going on right now. And we have motherfuckers in the press talking about Monty Williams was like set up to fail and Detroit is bitch made, and that he's blameless in this. He's blameless in this. That's the part that I won't accept, is that this could not possibly have been Monty Williams' fault. And there's surely no, while also at the same time, this is where I will get ahead of myself, while also at the same time saying how great of a hire this JJ Redick thing is for the Lakers. So, like, no one could have fixed the Pistons, not even Monty Williams, but JJ Redick is going to save the fucking Lakers. It's already happening in real time. We clocked it. We talked about this already. We fucking talked about this on the show. The second that JJ Redick accepts this job, the target is on his back. And it's this moment that he was having culturally, the party's over. Everybody fucking go home. We're turning the lights off and the owners of the house are going to bed. Matter of fact, they actually just showed up. They just came back from vacation. We weren't even supposed to be in this house, right? It's over because now all those same people, because what are you supposed to do? Doctor Strange this thing right now, dog. Go through all the universes where this thing works out. You're not going to find any. You're not going to find any because what is he supposed to do? Are the Lakers supposed to win a championship? This is, you really got to read into what the language is from these agents, man, and these executives for these teams. So they say JJ Redick, he's not just like we want this with LeBron and like AD. Like, we want to do some shit right now. They're like, it's not just about that. It's about building a sustained long-term thing with the Lakers brand beyond when LeBron is still the... Really? You guys see that same graphic I saw, that there hasn't been a coach that has lasted more than 3 years with the Lakers since Phil Jackson? Since Phil Jackson was at 15-ish years, give or take, huh? Whoops. JJ Redick will be different though, because he's got a 40-year-old LeBron, which just is he has the LeBron that's the most experienced he's ever been in his life. So obviously, which also, spoiler alert, I guess LeBron's coming back to the Lakers. I guess that one came out a little bit early, because this wouldn't fucking this wouldn't happen if otherwise. But I just think, all that happens is the same people who you were coworkers with less than 12 months ago, it then becomes their job to talk on their shows about your best player, LeBron James, right? And who are the people on TV going to pick, JJ Redick? Who are they going to pick? Are they going to pick you, or are they going to pick LeBron? They're going to pick the same damn guy that they've been picking for 20 years. Right? And then you're going to be back at square one. And this zero-sum game that you were playing, here's my hardest, I don't want to call this a zag. I don't even know if this is a take. I think I'm just #thinking out loud, right? Is there a fun graphic potential for that? I'm not going to make it. I can say that all I want. Once I get to post and I'm editing, I'm not going to fucking do it. So just a just thinking out loud here. Does JJ Redick crashing and burning, which is the only way that this will go, and I very respectfully will not hear otherwise. So when this thing crashes and burns and JJ tries to do a thing where he goes back to the media, does this kill the player media movement? Does it kill momentum at least? I'm not going to say I don't think this thing can really take it out altogether. If JJ Redick totally face plants here, and then the zeitgeist sees what happens to you, when you can be on, you got TV appearances coming out of your fucking ears, you got podcast appearances and podcast episodes of your own booked up for the next 3 fucking months. You go from that to coaching the Lakers? And I'm of course, dude, yes, he played in the league for, 15 years. I get it. He was he's been around. I'm just saying, but when you rise in the ranks in this media sense, and now it doesn't just make basketball sense to hire you as a coach, but it makes sense to bring on your brand and to bring on all the eyes that you bring, right? It's as much a business decision as it is a marketing decision, as much as it is a basketball decision, right? So when people see how quickly they vilify him and how quickly you can fall out of the good graces of the media, right? Because, another part of the equation here is when this fails, the Lakers fan base is pretty big. I'd argue it's one of the 5 biggest fan bases on earth of all of the sports. Their reach is global, right? Which means they have more people who casually consume. I'm just saying, you're about to make a lot of enemies, a lot of them. It's one thing if North Carolina fans, they can't stand this guy. North Carolina fans hate this one trick. It's one thing to have that. I just don't know. It's just go back to the term zero-sum game. This is what JJ Redick wants. It's what he really wants. And then, so you don't have Monty Williams as your coach just to take this thing back to Detroit. All right, Monty's gone. Cool. So they want JJ Redick? Nope. Oh, wow. Okay, so the JJ thing can't happen. Yes. I know maybe that's where I should have gone with this thing first, is doing a check-in on myself, honestly, and where am I at with that? Man, it's been a long fight. I feel like we've spent the last 3 to 4, 5 weeks covering it on this channel, somewhat extensively. You couldn't get me to shut up about it for about a full week. Is it that? Wow. Whoa. Can you guys? I'm gonna hold the headphones close to the microphone really quick. Can you hear that? That just started playing really loud in my ear. Where is this coming from? Where is this? It just went away. I'm leaving this in. I'm opening all these tabs. Where was this from? I don't know where this was from. I'm going to go back to talking now. What the fuck? What was I talking about? That scared the shit. What was I talking about? Whoa, I might have to cut for a second to... No, it's the theme of the episode. Whoa, this is weird. Theme of the episode, going back to the beginning, I said, Nick, you have to adapt to the circumstances. You guys are going to think I got a soundboard? I'm going to show the camera. I don't got a soundboard around here. You think I got a soundboard around here? Got nothing there. I got to do the camera. I'm leaving all of this in. Oh, I was on such a good roll. Lord knows what I was talking about. How am I supposed to get this thing straight again? It all stays in the show because here at the Coping Hour, we're raw. We do the full hour, and we have the best takes. Here at the Coping Hour, we're raw. We do the full hour, and we have the best takes. Wow. Oh, I was really into what I was talking about. It was something about Monty Williams. Surely it was about Monty Williams. It was me talking about JJ Redick, and he's finally out of here, and so the witch is dead. And yeah, man, I'm excited about it. Wow, look how I fucking got us back on Rockstar. What a rockstar move I can't fix the camera. It's just gonna suck, I guess, the rest of the episode. No, I feel, man, it is a big sigh of relief, big breath of fresh air. That proverbial. I mean, it's really 3 weeks, rather 3 witches in 2 weeks between Troy Weaver, Monty Williams, and the JJ Redick thing happening. To the latter two of those happening in the same week. So it's like, okay, so you're a Pistons fan and you pivot, and you're like, can I say? I saw it, man. Someone brought this up on Reddit, and I want to. We'll get to some of the coaching candidates in just a little bit, but I want to bring this up while it's still kind of fresh in my mind. Somebody brought this up the other day on Reddit, and they were like, is it like kind of sneaky making the offseason more fun that the front office is currently very tight-lipped? And the more that I thought about it, I think that's an awesome take because, for the Pistons right now, which, by the way, the press conference is happening officially. Trajan Langdon, the day, if you're listening to this day releases June 21st, Friday, they will be having a press conference in the afternoon. TBD on if it's live streamed, kind of horseshit if you're introducing the guy who's running your team now and you don't get we can't watch it. Okay. That shows me, that's interesting. That's something to read into, but we'll talk about that if it happens. So the press conference is actually happening. So they will be asking. So, okay, I got not a Victory Lab podcast, but just something to note. We did hypothesize on this program that they were not going to do the press conference unless or until Monty Williams was fired. And then that is actually exactly what happened. But just to get back to the point, is it more fun to root for this team when we don't know what's going on? Yes, because then our imaginations can really do their thing, right? But the downside is exactly that same thing, where you get so speculative, where you could end up so off base and so off the beaten path of where so you can just get thrown off to such a degree where I'm really trying to think of an example. Like when I thought the Pistons were going to get to take Cam Johnson, and then he went like 6 picks earlier, I was like, whoa, reach? It's like Cam Johnson. He's not that good. I was like, he's good, but we were picking like 15th, I think, and he went like, I don't remember. He went a little bit earlier than that, like 12th or something. So I said like a lot of picks is fucking 3. It's not that many. But I remember being like, oh, Cam Johnson bust. Even though I was crushed. And then we ended up getting Sekou Doumbouya, and I was like, whoa. And then, but what sucked is after Cam Johnson, I was like, whoa, Nasir Little, like, he's up next. And then it was not him. I think Romeo Langford was somewhere sandwiched in the middle there. I was like, Romeo Langford sucks. That dude is a fucking sandwich. Don't want his ass at all. When's the last Indiana guard that I can think of that was not Victor Oladipo? Victor Oladipo does not count. You're like, why doesn't he count? Because obviously Victor Oladipo. When you think of like Indiana guards, you'd be like, yeah, Victor Oladipo. There's one in there that I can't think of, but there's definitely one other one in there. It's not, I'm not counting Victor Oladipo. Christian Watkins. I think he was a forward. It's a forward. No. Christian, wasn't, you say Christian Wilkins? No, I said Christian Watford. I said the right guy. Chris Jenkins. No, he played for Villanova, and that was a couple years later, too. So, okay, anyways, you're looking at me, you're like, hey, Mr. Pistons fan, what do you think about this whole coaching search thing that you were talking about a minute ago? I was talking to somebody about it earlier. I think they're going to strike out with, like, all of the bigger names. Like, anybody that's just even had a head coaching job before, like J.B. Bickerstaff was somebody that got thrown out there. I was like, he's not coming here. For whatever, he's not going to be the coach. And then you've also seen like James Borrego's been thrown out there. I'm going to throw up for. I don't get it at all. I don't get that at all. I'm going to need a Hornets fan to explain it to me like I'm a fucking 2-year-old. Seriously, I'm like, so James Borrego coached a bad team for a few years and like hated rookies, like hated young players. And if you look at Detroit's roster, which, by the way, not to keep harping on this, but the people who are like, Monty Williams was set up to fail, are like, Detroit's roster just sucks. It's like, they suck because they're young, but they're actually all pretty good NBA players. There's no direction at all. They're all just also, none of them can really shoot, which, yeah, I'll give you that. None of them can really shoot. So, like, that's not great. So you're going to give James Borrego a bunch of kids, and then you're also Modest Buzelis, by the way, is who the Pistons are going to draft. So, okay, so you're giving him also Buzelis, by the way, which is maybe the silver lining is if you're drafting Buzelis, make sure you bring on James Borrego, because then Buzelis will get locked away in a fucking cage because he hates rookies. So he'll just never see the light of day. He'll play 0 minutes a game, and then it's out of sight, out of mind with Modest Buzelis. But this is also all conjecture. Well, it's not just because he's not the Pistons coach, but because he's the Cavs coach. He's chronicled it, stamped it. Next, he's the Cavs coach. There's nothing to talk about with James Borrego in Detroit. He's the Cleveland Cavaliers coach. On to the next one. And so then you're like, okay, so who else is out there? I got to tell you, Kenny Atkinson's ass is not walking through that door. Don't let me find out they interviewed him. Don't let me find out that Kenny Atkinson is like putting his name in for all of these jobs just to tell them no. Like, just to like keep his name floating out there. We're trending towards Kenny Atkinson, like, might be I was about to say something mean. I wouldn't mean it if I said it. I like Kenny Atkinson, but I am sick of hearing his name floating around any sort of a vacancy for head coaching job. We're not getting Kenny Atkinson. So then you're like, okay, Nick, so you named all those guys. You think that the Pistons are going to strike out with all those guys. So who do you think they're going to go for? Well, I think Sean Sweeney is probably the play here. If we get Sean Sweeney, and I feel like there's I just feel like there's good reason to think that would happen. We brought up Dwayne Casey earlier. Sean Sweeney, he's one of Dwayne Casey's top assistants, right near the front of the bench, respected in this league. And I'd say by the end of the decade, Sean Sweeney is going to be a coach in the NBA anyways, so it might as well be here. At this point, all of the people that would have been, a lot of the front office guys are still around. Like Dwayne is still here, to the best of my knowledge, at least, right? So that thread rather is still connected, and sure, some of the guys are still here. So I'm excited, man. I don't think they're really gonna say too much at the press conference. I don't think there's gonna be too much information. That it'll be cool to like hear Trajan speak for the first time and like kind of get a feel for like how he is as a dude, and maybe what his vision is for the team. Because right now, as a Pistons fan, I'm pretty much just kind of like cool. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. In the solo video that we did where we covered the Monty Williams dismissal, by the way, not firing, it was a dismissal. Fucking get it right. Stop saying he got fired. He did not. He got dismissed. But in there, I said at the end, I was a little bummed at what my reaction was, which was not at all what I thought it was going to be. Like, just kind of like, yep. You're kind of just like, oh, the Pistons. So the Pistons did the right thing. So the Pistons did the thing that we were like, hey, you should probably do this, and then they did. And so when your favorite team finally does that thing, and it just feels like maybe it was just dragging on for longer than it needed to, and you're just kind of like, good for you, I guess. Like, I've rooted for plenty of teams in Detroit where the coach needed to get fired a few years earlier, than they lasted. And so it does feel good to at least root for a franchise that had the presence of mind to just be like, man, even after 1 year, like, this just isn't it. And to also hear the voices of your players to a reasonable degree, which it sounds like is what happened. Sounds like they asked Cade and they were like, hey, what's your deal here? By all accounts, seems like all the players fucking hated him. You're not really hearing the ESPN guys say that. And I feel like saying what I'm about to say is going to make it sound like I am actually bitter. And so, but like, I keep mentioning like, oh, these fucking ESPN guys, I'm not actually that mad about it. I'm just, I guess, more curious, like, where is that coming from? Like, I don't want to say who is it for, because obviously it's for Monty, but is that coming from his agency? Because then I'm just kind of like, so you do still want to coach, because that was kind of your whole deal before, was where you, and so, but then that makes it all the rumors about the Pistons and some dudes internally like not wanting Monty to go to the Lakers, and I think wasn't it Mark Stein that reported, after we demanded a fucking answer on this, by the way, we were like, well, who the fuck reported that Monty Williams might actually stick around? And then why was that fed to Mark Stein? Like, who gave him that information if 2 days later he ended up getting fired? And then you hear Mark Stein be like, yeah, there was momentum for keeping him. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you would say that, but like, what is this for? So what happened on the inside? I'll do my best to do some digging on that, folks. This is not a news breaking program. This isn't really what we do on here. I do seem to have a decent touch on apparently on what's unfolding here. So if I hear it, I'll keep my eye on this situation. Keep my ear close to the ground on this one. Try to get you guys a nice Coping Hour exclusive. But because of all that, I could give a shit about what happens in the draft. All Boo Zealous jokes aside, which, by the way, most of them are not really jokes. I'm very indifferent. I've rooted for a team that, shuffles the cards once every few years, and I've been fortunate/unfortunate to witness it a handful of times just in the last, 3 years, right? A team that just, they just keep shuffling the deck and trying to deal new cards, and they just keep getting a bad hand. And you see them tackle the trade market. You see them tackle free agency. You see them go after these big, sexy coaches. And then that doesn't work out. And so now you're like, let's just go for one of these up next guys, which is probably what it's going to be, right? And you just keep hoarding all of these, not really hoarding picks, but you just keep accruing all of these young players. And it's like, that's cool, but you got to get some motherfuckers in the building who actually know where to, it's like they say, look for the light at the end of the tunnel, but the tunnel isn't just a narrow, it's not just go one direction. It's not just it's not linear in that sense. It's there are it's 360 degrees, and there are 14 different avenues that you could go to, 1,400 rather, different avenues that you could go down with a bunch of twists and turns and shit. And it's about getting the right people who know which one to point you down to get you to that light, motherfucker. And I'm just so tired of it as a Pistons fan, where it's we do this thing. Again, because of how recent the Monty thing was, I remember it. It was a year ago. It was literally 1 year ago. Those memories, those emotions are very fresh. I can remember what that optimism felt like. And so when you're able to catch it in real time, when you're able to check yourself and you're doing it again. You're doing the thing where you're letting yourself believe that this team is going to do fucking anything. And I got to tell you, I had a lot of experience feeling that way as a Lions fan. And you get to a point as a fan when you've rooted for something for so long that just doesn't fucking work. It just doesn't work for whatever reason, organizationally, from a roster perspective, for whatever reason, it just never works out. Shit just never goes in your favor. In your heart, you'll always be a fan of them and you'll always be attached to them. But at a certain point, you do go on on a hiatus. You break up with them a little bit, and you're like, you know what, man, I'll fucking come back when you guys figure it out, when you guys get your shit together. And for me as a Lions fan, I got there after the Matthew Stafford trade. I was like, I don't know if I can't fucking do this anymore. Dan Campbell comes on, and to be fair to him, we were all on board with the Dan Campbell thing pretty early on, even though they were still losing games. But it was because of the Matt Patricia era Lions that absolutely broke our spirits as Lions fans. You talk about being spiritually as a fan as low as you can possibly be. It was the Matt Patricia years, and he killed it for a lot of people. And it's something you just go, I'll believe it when I see it. What happens when they finally do it is what the Detroit Lions said to me just this last season, right? The best season that they've played literally in the history of their franchise ever. Even the ones where they won championships, 70 years ago. At this point, the best season that they've ever played. Eventually, the Pistons are going to have that. Eventually, the Detroit Pistons will give that to me, and I will have this, I'll be in my late 20s, I'll be in my 30s, I'll be in my 40s. Maybe my son will be able to experience it with me in, a really meaningful way. Eventually, it will happen, but I have reached that point with them where I'm like, you guys don't bring me joy as a franchise. I like watching this sport, but the team that I've chosen to root for my entire life just isn't good. And I can't say they have never been good, because they, historically 3 championships, one of them did happen in my lifetime. But for the important parts of my life, the formative years and through the ones that I remember and that I can, they've sucked. They've been the exact same level of either mediocre or bad consistently for 13 years. That's how long I've been dealing with this. And so I don't have a ton of shit to say about this head coaching search because truthfully, I think whatever they end up doing, people are going to do some extensive deep dives into, if it's Sean Sweeney, whoever it ends up being, dude, and they're going to convince themselves about X, Y, and Z one way or another, whether they like it or not. Whatever they do, there's going to be a crazy shakeup this summer in July, and I'm going to get excited, and I'm going to lie, and I won't realize in real time that I'm lying, but I'm going to get all excited, and I'm going to pretend that I care, but I don't. When they come back and they win 25 games next year, and we're scratching our heads being like, dude, it was a new president of basketball operations. You got to give him time to, see his vision through, and you're going to be like, dude, if they win 25 games, like how much of an improvement is that over last year? For sure. And the way that they win those 25 games, like that shit matters. I don't need them to win 41. I don't need them to get the 10th seed and go to the play. That'd be nice. I'd fucking love it. Be amazing if that did happen. But I just can't expect that. In some sense, though, if I want to sit here and I want to talk to you guys about how, the ESPN people are dumb for saying that the roster is bad. Like, they're bad because they're young, but it's not because they're actually bad. You know what I mean? I can't sit here and be like, maybe we'll win 20 games. It's like, dog, either you believe in them or you don't, because it can't be both. You know what I mean? And I do. And I think that maybe if you do this roster chop up the right way and you bring in that right coach, sure. And you're literally doing it in real time. I'm just talking out all the possibilities, man. I'm not really picking one side or another right now. But I do, because ultimately I would still err on the side of like, this doesn't matter, and I'm going to have more fun just watching other teams most nights, or if not, maybe here's a fun little exercise for, this goes for, you doesn't have to just be basketball, it's any sport that you're watching out there. If it's your favorite team and you feel like you're being forced to watch them, you've gotten to that point with them, start watching the other team. Just be like, I just happen to watch every single Pistons game, but it's always because I'm just watching the other team. I always want to see what they're doing. Maybe I'll enjoy it a little bit more. Because, like, that's what they are as a team, though. For you talk about since 2011, how bad that they've been. It's been about since that time, 13 years, that if you go to a Pistons game, you are very seldom going to see the Pistons. You're going to see whoever's in town that night. I can't tell you how many teams I've seen over the years, not because I wanted to see Detroit, but because I wanted to see the 2016 Cavs. I wanted to see the 2017 Warriors, both of them at the Palace, by the way. I wanted to see the Tobias Harris-led Magic in 2017. There are levels to this shit, folks. I'm not going to see the Steve Blake, Anthony Tolliver show in Detroit. So when that's who you are as a franchise, where are your fans at? It sucks. It sucks a lot. And I wish I could feel more excited about it. Here's what I will allow myself to do. Here's what I'll tell you. You will see me excited, and you will see me mean it when Cade pens that extension. When those T's are crossed and those I's are dotted. 5 years, $207 million. Give him whatever he wants, honestly, but somewhere in that ballpark, probably, right? I saw that. I saw $200 million. I'm like, how is he eligible for that at all? Like, how has he done enough to warrant that? And then I'm like, but then it hit me. I was like, well, I guess that is kind of that also is sort of the $200 million at some point here pretty soon over the next few years. $200 million is going to be like the new 5 years, $120 million. Is that too? No, that's pretty much what it is. That's where we're going to be at by like 2030. A dude signing a 5-year, $200 million contract is nothing. That's not going to be literally anything. Can I say I got one more note on the JJ Redick thing. I was editing Jacob, a.k.a. Rusty Bucket's most recent video, and he said something that I thought was an interesting mental exercise. He said, if you're JJ Redick and you're taking this job, he's like, it's like if you're a filmmaker, He's like, you don't want to make your dream movie on your first attempt because the journey as a filmmaker is there's so many curves, and you want to make sure you harness all of that by the end of your journey when you're truly ready to make your dream. So the equation here is that JJ Redick jumping headfirst into the Los Angeles Lakers being the first gig that you've ever had as a head coach seems pretty lofty. Here's a...
Does somebody order an extra medium Zag?
Yeah, that's me right here. If I'm JJ Redick and I'm a filmmaker at the same time, my philosophy on that is I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity to make something, at like a feature length someday. In an ideal world, I would. So if one day if I get to be behind a camera for something, my philosophy has always been, if I ever get the opportunity to do that, I'm going to treat it like it is the only time I will ever get to do it, and I am going to do absolutely everything. Everything that I've ever thought about, everything that I can conceive on the fly in the moment with whoever I'm working with. I'm sparing no expense. I'm treating this as if it's the only opportunity I will ever get to make something massive. So it's the flip side of it, where if I'm JJ Redick and I'm thinking, I just climbed this ladder on my own merit, and we talk about what the media part of his career after playing has done for his brand as an individual. And you see how he was able to leverage that. He's the head coach of the fucking Lakers, dude. So if you're him and you're in that moment, of like, am I going to take this job or am I not going to take this job? And you're like, well, you have to have this like reflective moment of, so like, what has this all been for? If not to do this exact thing? Because unless there's a coaching job out, because at the end of the day, this has all been about, positioning himself to get into a head coaching position. That's what this has all been about at the end of the day. And so you're like, unless there was a job from like wherever, I don't know where JJ Redick is from. Is he from Florida? Like if he wanted to coach like a specific team of like where he cared about as like a kid or something like that, like that's one thing. But like the prestige of coaching the Lakers, it's second to none, right? So that's my zag, is like, fuck it. I reached the mountain from like a media sense in like 3 years, honestly. In like 3 solid years, I went from a dude that is like sneaky underground, like people are like, gee, you listen to this JJ Redick podcast, to has completely taken over the zeitgeist, the bubble that is NBA media, right? It's got JJ Redick's face all fucking over it. And so you're like, okay, so I might as well just go head first into this Lakers thing. Like, sure, there is actually a lot more reward in taking the job of like a Cavs or like you guys are going to make fun of me and say, why would he take the job? But there is a lot less pressure taking a job like Detroit, because you have motherfuckers in the media who, after you get fired after a year, will say that it was actually the roster. It was not the player. They're not going to do that for you in Los Angeles. They're not going to do that because number 23 has a pulse. Son. We said it at the beginning. They are going to pick LeBron over JJ Redick. And then how awkward is that reunion going to be? You wonder what happens. It could be a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Maybe he makes it to the end of the contract, signs an extension. He's there for 6 years. I don't care how long he's in this chair. Well, I do actually, because that does matter. Because if he's in there for 6 years and then at the end, he's actually kind of successful, and then like he could do what I'm about to set up, but for all to. So if because I seem pretty sure, like I'm really digging my heels in the sand that JJ is gonna fucking get fired pretty quick within the next couple of years. Pretty quick within the next couple of years. Which one is it, Nick? Within the next couple of years. I'll say within the next couple of years. I don't think this is not Monty Williams 2.0. JJ Redick will last like I think 2.5 years. I'll get on the soapbox and I'll say that at least. So what happens after that? Is he going back to ESPN? Yikes. Awkward. Don't want to see that reunion actually at all. And then you think, well, Nick, what about that new TV deal? Got some new rights partners in the mix. JJ Redick, new Amazon correspondent in 2026. The season of 2026-2027. JJ Redick, new Amazon sports consultant. How's that sound? How about this? So by the end of the year / for maybe next season, when NBC snatches Bill Simmons, do they then, a few years down the line, after Bill spends some time, employing JJ Redick at the Ringer, they've since beefed over social media, so maybe this wouldn't happen, but they have a pre-existing relationship. Maybe that deters JJ from going to NBC, honestly, and then Bill says something controversial. He says something like slightly racist about Meghan Markle, and you're kind of like, I don't know about that one. And so then NBC parts ways with Bill, the podfather, and then JJ Redick swoops in, new NBC sports correspondent at the desk, or hell, in the booth. Put him in the booth. JJ Redick loves calling basketball games. It's like his whole deal. He's been doing it for like a whole year. It's like he fucking's been doing it his whole life. JJ Redick loves calling games. And then there's the other take. That's the other takeaway from all this. Burying the lead. I should have led a parade at the beginning of this episode. JJ Redick is out of the media. You think? Because we have how many player podcasts do we have? Why can't we have a coach podcast? That's what so then you just wonder, so then you think of it from that perspective. So what happens to Old Man in the Three? Because Tommy Alter is on the verge of being like Looney Tunes levels of poor with like a tin cup and a fucking, if JJ Redick can't keep podcasting, I don't know what the fuck is going to happen to that guy. But I like to imagine, if you figure he probably will, you just think maybe he'll have like fewer guests. But across the board, everything I said about JJ sort of being the media darling right now, he can still have his podcast, but he's not on every broadcast that we're seeing for the actual games themselves, right? Although all the nationally broadcast ones we will, because he'll be the fucking coach. Oh, I'm going to throw up. You know what I just thought about? It's a Thursday night primetime game. It's the middle of January. It's the Lakers and the Nuggets. They're at Staples. And I'm just picturing Lisa Salters at the end of the first quarter, start of the second quarter. We cut to, after coming back from commercial, Lisa Salters sideline reporting with JJ Redick. And then it's like everybody's like, oh man, I just missed hearing JJ's voice. Oh my God. Miss hearing JJ on a broadcast. Because people are just going to be like, hey, it's like there's, oh my God, it's going to be so fucking annoying. But yeah. Hey, they say it comes in threes, right? Monty Williams. And then who was the other one? Oh, I guess I'm double dipping. That's what it is. That's why I confused myself. The three witches are dead. Monty Williams, JJ Redick as the Pistons head coach, and then JJ Redick just in the media. So all of them are gone. Yeah, that's another one that I guess I thought I would feel a lot more celebratory than I actually do about it. I guess maybe now I'm feeling a little bit more reflective, and I'm going to be like, was I a little hard on the guy? And then I'm going to be like, I don't think I was, actually, at the end of the day. Like, I treated him as if I would any colleague, any peer, because at the end of the day, that's what JJ Redick and I were. Rather, I was more a critic of his. I was more like the Anthony Fantano to his JJ Redick than I was a coworker to JJ Redick. I was more the needle drop pilled to him, and most days I was just like, not good. Not JJ Redick, not good. Just sick of him. And then, okay, so we're a few days removed. I guess we can wrap up on this. So we're a few days removed from the NBA Finals happening. Like I said, the day this is coming out is the day of the parade. And how am I feeling about it? I still feel good about it. I mean, I thought that I guess people more credit. I thought the internet would be more, at least even in the corners that I'm in, people are seemingly a little kind of chill with the Celtics winning from what I've seen. Maybe some of you are like, oh, it's been horrible. I'm a Celtics fan. It's been horrible. And that's probably just because you're like instigating a bunch of shit. And that's why it's been horrible for you, because you've been a little piece of shit to everybody. But for all the real people out there, it seems pretty tame. Seems like people are just kind of like, damn, yeah, I mean, the best team in the league, the best team of the decade so far, which I haven't gotten too much pushback on. We did, on the shoot around the other day, I threw out this question to the fellas, and I was like, so we have maybe we did this. I apologize if I'm rehashing a segment from Monday. I think we did some form of this, but I don't think I gave the spiel that I'm about to give. So stay with me for a second. So I was like, okay, so the Celtics win in 2024. So now we have a half decade worth of NBA champions. So we have the Lakers. It's doing it again. Oh my God. Do you hear this? I don't know how to... Okay, it's going away. All right. Okay, it's gone. Now, okay, so now we know it's not going to come back. I don't know where that's coming from. And it happened again, but I'm talking through it, and I'm going to figure out where we're going. I'm going to try to... We were talking about I think we were talking about the Lakers, and we were talking about something... fuck, man. What is that? What the hell is that? What is that wrinkle that's been added into this show? I got someone cyber attacking me on what is this? I don't know what this could possibly be. I'm opening every single tab, and maybe that's the problem is I got so many tabs open. I don't know what this could possibly be from. Another moment where I'm not going to let this defeat me. I'm going to get back on the road. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to remember what I was talking about, which is really too bad, because I'm sure it was pretty interesting. Hey, House of the Dragon. Have you guys been watching that House of the Dragon? That first episode was amazing. I don't read the books, so I guess some people were disappointed what they were expecting versus what they actually got, expectation versus reality, that type of thing. I'm so invested in that universe. It's just so fun for me. And I think maybe we culturally jumped the this is a very bold, very brave statement for me to say in 2024, that I think we jumped the shark culturally on Game of Thrones. But I just mean in the sense that I don't think it was ever like The Wire or like Breaking Bad, like true monoculture. I think it was more of like a world where you need to be invested in the universe and the characters because of how convoluted some of these storylines and these characters, these plot lines can actually be. And just how it's just a lot, man. It's just a big spider web, and you really need to. So at least with some of the other shows, you can watch a little bit more liberally, and you can kind of be a little bit more. But Game of Thrones sometimes there's a House of the Dragon, though, man. Jesus, this show rules. The scale of it is just awesome. And I remember like Game of Thrones was like, I loved it. And then House of the Dragon, I was just annoyed that they were just doing a spinoff in general. And because I was like, it's whatever. But then I was like, wow, I guess I didn't realize how much I wanted more of this universe, but just with fucking more dragons. Like, that's it. Just more dragons doing like dragon shit. And like, but who's the big one? Vhagar? Is that his name? The big fucker, the big dragon who did the bad thing at the end of season 1. We were all like, whoa. This show rules. Show absolutely rules. Thought I was going to have maybe some more on that. I guess I don't, though. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Coping Hour. I guess no more interruptions. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I think we're okay. Alrighty, folks. If you are, sincerely, we reached, I think 300 5-star. Well, not 5 stars, but 300 ratings on Spotify. That's amazing. That's like 1 million to me. Oh my God. Whoa. Do you hear this? Hold on. Okay, because it's still playing. I'm going to try. It's Steam. No. I found it. It was a Sports Illustrated tab. Sports Illustrated tab just playing music. Okay. All right. Well, we solved a mystery here on the Coming Hour today. We take off the mask. It was Sports Illustrated the whole time. Don't they? Why did I even read in a Sports Illustrated article? Don't they just have a bunch of AI that writes the article? They fired everyone. I thought they folded as a business, as an enterprise. If you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars. If you are watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm, and I will catch you guys
Computers now have
in the next
control.
one.
Beautiful.
Primary control.
Beautiful.
Primary control.
Beautiful.
Primary control.